Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mario Cristobal, the Miami Hurricanes, putting the final touches on the 2025 recruiting class, and it is time for our recruiting class superlatives. This is one of my favorite episodes that we do every single year. We've broken down pretty much every single commitment in this Miami Hurricanes 2025 class. Now it's a little bit more of a bird's eye view approach and talk about, I think, some of the most intriguing players that are getting added to this roster heading into 2025. And, my overall take on this 2025 class, it's smaller than we are used to seeing from Mario Cristobal. And I think that's why you see a little bit lower of a quote unquote recruiting ranking according to 24/7 Sports. I would fully expect for Miami to get very, very aggressive in the transfer portal over the next couple of weeks. And I think it's really important to remind ourselves that in 2024, Miami took a massive class. It was a very good class, but it was a very big class. And so I think we probably could have expected a little bit of a smaller class in 2025. Missed out on a few of the top targets, guys like Dallas Wilson, guys like DJ Pickett, still some players that I really like. Now, the five superlatives we have: number one, the day one starter. What kid in this 2025 cycle has the best chance of making a year one impact for the Miami Hurricanes in 2025? We got the highest NFL draft pick, and this one I got creative with. We got the diamond in the rough. We got the slow burn prospect, the player that it might take a year or two, but will probably become I think will become a very good player for the Miami Hurricanes somewhere down the road. And then the boomer bust prospect, the guy that might really work for Miami, might not work. Really excited to get into it now. Before we do, and as always, to the Miami Hurricane fans, it's been a pleasure and a blast talking this program on the recruiting trail, and the amount of support y'all continue to show to the boys. It's still amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, would love to hear some names that I might be sleeping on in this 2025 class. So as a fan myself, you always have that guy that you kind of plant your flag with. Would love to hear that in the comments section. Without further ado, let's get into the day one impact player. And that, I think it's so obviously SJ Olafatuli. You look at Zach Carpenter moving on. I think there's a good chance Miami goes to the transfer portal and bring in another experienced center. If you don't, it's rare to have offensive linemen start year one, especially at the center position. I think this kid could do it. He's a 4-year starter at Bishop Gorman, and although maybe not the extraordinary high ceiling like a Francis Mauinoa out at the tackle spot, this kid is going to be a multi-year starter for the Miami Hurricanes somewhere down the road, and I think he has a really good chance of playing early for this Miami Hurricanes team too, and probably got to put a little bit more weight on, get him up to 300 pounds. Although you look at the frame and say, one, he looks bigger than 300 pounds or 280 pounds on the senior film. More importantly, doesn't really lack any sort of play strength or physicality. And he's such a polished offensive lineman. And that's kind of what you expect when you get a 4-year starter at Bishop Gorman out there in Nevada. We said this kid when he committed, he's going to be such a high floor player. I don't know if he'll be a first round NFL draft pick, but he's going to be a multi-year starter for the Miami Hurricanes, and he's going to play on Sundays. Really, really like this kid, especially playing early for the Miami Hurricanes. Now, the highest NFL draft pick, I'm going to go to 4-star wide receiver Joshua Moore. I'm fascinated about this kid. 6'4", 205. He right now is kind of a little bit vertical, kind of like how Isaiah Horton came into the Miami Hurricanes, like just big body that can move vertically down the field. There's not much else to his game right now. I will say this, the highs on the high school film are so high. I mean, the physicality at the catch point, the body control, the coordination. It's hard to find that size of wide receivers that have that kind of juice down the field. If he's going to maximize himself, he's got to expand his game a little bit more. Like right now, just kind of a vertical dude. Big body that can move in a straight line really fast, really good at the catch point. Can he develop a little bit more become a little bit more of a well-rounded wide receiver? Can he create separation, short, intermediate route trees? Can he operate after the catch a little bit better? That's what you're looking for. But from a pure physical trait standpoint, box checker at the wide receiver position. And if he does reach his potential, he's going to be a very high pick in the NFL draft. Let's go to the diamond in the rough. And we're going to need to have a conversation. A guy that we don't really talk about that much because he's been committed to this Miami program for so long. And there's not been any drama with him. He committed to Miami. I don't really think took any other visits or showed any interest in any other schools. And for the life of me, I can't understand why 24/7 Sports has him as a 3-star. I mean, you go back to his junior year, state champ, 7A football in Georgia, threw for almost 4,000 yards, 39 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, 7A football in the state of Georgia. He's won a winner at the quarterback spot. He's making another run in the playoffs this year in his senior year. Extremely productive in one of the best high school leagues that you see across the country. And then you turn on the film and say, just such a, I say beautiful, such a clean stroke. Like he just seems in such command. And, maybe why he's a little bit lower ranked is size and athleticism might not be like you see some other quarterbacks, but from a pure quarterback prospect, it is hard not to like this kid. And most importantly, he's a winner. And that to me, that matters at the quarterback spot. Like, give me quarterbacks that are used to winning football games. Luke Nickel is that guy up there in Milton, Georgia. Really big fan of him. I don't understand why everybody's so low on quarterback Luke Nickel. Let's talk about the slow burn. And we talked about him yesterday when he committed. Kellen Wiley. This kid, 6'4", 225. I use the term slower burn because it might take a year or two before he gets on the football field for Miami. If he does get developed, I think he can be a really intriguing, front seven defender. I think he can rush off the edge. I think he certainly can play the off-ball linebacker spot. Most importantly, he brings length and athleticism to the Miami Hurricanes linebacker position, where it just seemed to be lacking that in 2024. And you saw Miami kind of make a change in how they're recruiting that position. Go back to 2024, guys like Darius Hayes, guys like Bobby Pruitt, smaller, more athletic linebackers. Kellen Wiley's kind of like that too. Now he's not that small because he's 6'4", but it's a slender frame right now. Probably needs to get up to 240 pounds. Carry tight ends up the seam, be a very big presence in zone coverage. I mean, he's going to take away a lot of throwing windows, and he can operate sideline to sideline. He's kind of moved around at the high school ranks, and that's why I choose him for the slower burn prospect. But if it clicks for Kellen Wiley, really excited about this kid. Last one, the boomer bust prospect. Let's go to Amari Wallace at Miami Central. Season-ending injury his senior year. And it was a pretty bad one, if I recall. I think he fractured his leg. The reason I put him as a boomer bust is he's a smaller prospect, and especially at the safety or nickel position. I think he's going to play nickel. That's at least where I would put him. He's going to have to figure out how to maneuver and kind of play bigger. But the football IQ is incredible. I mean, really versatile. Could play safety. Could play. I mean, he plays a little boundary cornerback at Miami Central. I think we'll play nickel. So plays bigger than he is in terms of the physicality. Like he'll come and lay the wood and run support or tackling in space. Kind of like Mikey Sandstrel from Michigan. Like if he can figure out a way to deal with some of those bigger bodied pass catchers that he's going to see, I think this kid can play at a high level because the football IQ is there. I mean, you go back to the junior film, he just seems like he's in command of what he's doing on the defensive side of the football. Just the size is a little bit of a question mark. And if he figures out how to navigate that, I think he'd be a really good football player for the Miami Hurricanes. That's what I have here. Our attention now is going to be shifted to the transfer portal, which we expect Miami to get very aggressive in. We'll close it there. Again, appreciate y'all rocking with it. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.